first you have to have a vision, and number one. Number two, you need to be able to communicate that vision in a really effective way. And storytelling is the most impactful for many people. Some people might be introverts, but regardless, you still need to communicate your vision to others.
Like, we started selling this product out of the trunk of our cars.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Inventory management is about balance.
Get the product out. That's number one.
I've always preached sustainable growth.
So we just started building community.
Look at the data.
Product development is everything.
Yeah, we say we're a brick, click, and pop.
But you have to love what you do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of the Merchant Mastery Podcast. And today we have Ted Ning from Forum for Naturals. Ted, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be here, Kieran.
Good. Ted, tell us all about Forum for Naturals. What is it about?
Well, Forum for Naturals brings together marketers from emerging brands in the health and wellness and food CPG space to better connect and share challenges and tactics and solutions, best practices, in the marketing space, so that they're not forging this path alone. So it's kind of a giant mastermind.
It's a mastermind group. How many members do you currently have within the group?
We have about about 60 members. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about the naturals angle on this. So why do you call it Forum for Naturals?
Well, I took a spin on that just because most brands that are part of this are in the natural food space. And at the same time, it was also for people who are natural marketers. So that's why I came up with that term.
So are most of your members then, are they exclusively in the CPG food space from a natural angle, or are they natural marketers? They're marketers for sure, right? But do you have a sector focus to be in just in the naturals sector?
It's both. Both of them are in natural food sector. So, we've got brands, that a lot of people may know, like Sambazon or Harmless Harvest or Lundberg Family Farms or Suja, that are, well-known brands in your natural grocer. And then we also have lifestyle brands. So we have like Kava restaurants, we've got Otter products that are phone cases. So it kind of goes in a variety of different areas, but, I like to call it kind of lifestyle, healthy living brands.
Okay. And there's definitely people that you don't want to be in that group, right? Like, would you take on an Apple, for example, and they're $2 trillion company. I get that, right? But would you take on a hardware company like that, or is it more about that lifestyle and natural living?
Yeah, well, I'll have a conversation with Apple about what they said, but yeah, I think for us, it's really people who are dealing with the same challenges or similar challenges in a similar marketplace, and that's what makes this group special. Okay,
so in the group then, so remind me again, how many members do you currently have?
We have about 60. We got about 58.
58, right? And then the average sales that these 58 would it be above 10 million, under 5 million in gross annual volume?
Yeah, this group is 10 million plus mostly. We've got a couple that are almost at 10, but a majority are probably between 30 and 60.
Okay, so you've been a marketer for a long time. I think you and I are pretty much the same age, right? And what do you see as a very similar set of circumstances or challenges that the big companies face that smaller companies also struggle with? Is there commonality?
Oh yeah, and when you put the marketing hat on, I mean, the biggest thing is household penetration and growth. I mean, it's top of funnel. It's always growth, and how are you going to connect not only to your existing consumers but those consumers that are new? And maintaining a same cohesiveness. So that's the biggest challenge, probably.
Okay. And of course, the challenges that a $10 million plus company would have are going to be different than the sub 1 million for sure. Right. And, and all $10 million companies were once sub 1 million for sure. They would have to have been that. And, it strikes me that you would have a lot more resources to throw at the problems that you're facing in that if you're doing 10 million in sales. Right. But can you think of, if you were to say, 2 or 3 different challenges that are very different to the bigger companies like that? And 10 million isn't a large company, is it? It isn't a super large company, but it is certainly a different set of challenges than the sub $1 million company. What would you say would be those 2 or 3 things that make it different, the challenges?
Well, I think that as you grow, I mean, your challenges just don't disappear. That's for sure. They change a little incrementally to some degree, but also they're just magnified, and there's more pressure to do so. I think when you're smaller, you're still just trying to find who your consumer is, and really trying to identify that persona of that person out there who connects to you. And when you're a smaller brand at the 1 million stage, you're still just learning. You're learning a lot about where you fit in. What's the white space that you occupy? As a company gets growth, they understand who that core consumer is, but then they want to expand further and further out to who the other consumers are that might be new to their product that they could discover. That isn't not only the direct to consumer aspect in e-commerce, but also in terms of retailers and opening, stores and such, or getting access to stores. You're really selling to the retailer, not necessarily the direct customer. Right. So having those types of relationships are a huge, huge aspect for a lot of folks.
Do you find that most of your 58 members are doing any D2C, some D2C, or is it almost exclusively distribution through retail?
No. Everybody's doing D2C. I mean, COVID changed all that. For sure.
And if one thing that COVID has shown us is that you can't abandon your own channel. That's certainly been our experience with our clients at Socialite. And did you see the same kind of thing in the last 2 years?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of them, maybe had a little bit more focus on a retail strategy, but COVID forced everybody to turn to go to e-com much more rapidly than if it hadn't. And in doing so, they've had to change some of their tactics and some of their dollars in terms of spend into much more digital assets. So that was a huge change.
So a typical $10 million we call them manufacturers. What would we call them?
It's just a brand.
Okay, a typical $10 million brand. What do you think would be an average percentage direct to consumer versus through retail distribution?
Well, it depends on how they started. I mean, a lot of people right now, if it's a young brand, I mean, I would say that the best way to start is direct on e-commerce. And then that shows proof of concept to a retailer, and then you go into that way. Prior to that, it used to be the opposite. It used to be just, hey, I've got my retail stores, and then I'll dabble in e-com or Amazon or something. Well, now, if you don't have that, if you don't have a presence, you're not able to have access online, then you're really shot. So a lot of brands now are either, they've got a significant amount of percentage online, depending upon where they started. So a $10 million brand, I would say they would be in our group like a 50-50 at least. Some people actually are even 70% online and 30% in store. And other brands that are much larger that had traction and had the historic path of being in retail first, then it's a flip. It's about 70% in store and 30% online.
Yeah. One of the things we tell our clients regularly is that you have to nail your marketing D2C first. You just have to nail it. And not only do you have to nail it, you have to know it. Not right. Your agency, not, you got to build it, know it, why it works, how the consumers are responding to that online presence. And, one of the angles that I've always been told as well is that the customers that get you to $1 million are not the same customers that'll get you to 5 million. And the customers that get you to 5 million are not the same. And you could also say strategies as well are not the strategies or customers that'll get you to 10 million. And it's very different as your brand moves more upstream, more embedded into the overall culture and such, right? Are you finding with your retailers that they are demanding that your brands have that D2C presence in order to drive on floor sales?
More and more so. I mean, that's part of like the checklist, to see what that is. I mean, a buyer's not going to want to take a chance on an unproven product. It's just being risk adverse. They've got responsibilities and they've got to, make sure that they have job security, making the right decisions, that things are going to move off the shelf. And so there's so much competition out there that if not having that, it is really going to be a setback. So I strongly suggest everybody start with that first, like you said.
Okay, so you've got 58 members in this group, and again, we don't want to select any particular one. I'm trying to understand your perspectives on the aggregate. How long on average, did it take them to go from 0 in sales to 10 million?
It really depends on the brands. I mean, you've got brands that have been in existence for 30 years who are part of this group. And then you also got brands who have just kind of started fairly recently, like in 4 years. So it's, I would say some of the ones that have been on a strong trajectory. It's it's not a hockey stick. I wish I could say it was a hockey stick, but it's not. It's just a lot of tenaciousness, a lot of changing based on the circumstances, and really being able to squeeze your dollars to try to get as much as you possibly can out of that. So I'm sorry, I can't really answer that specifically.
And I think, most of our clients at Socialite, they all have aspirations to be 10 million, 20 million, 30 million.
Sure.
And it looks like an insurmountable number at the very beginning.
I will say this, a lot of people, I can't remember who said this, but a lot of people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5.
Yeah.
So if you really play the long game, you can accomplish it, but you have to be patient.
Yeah. Vishen Lakhiani. That's who said it. All right. What's his company? Mind Valley.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Mind Valley. I don't know if you're a Mind Valley fan.
Oh, yeah.
So absolutely. Yeah. That's a vision line for sure. What do you see as, for these companies that have done it within 4 years, is there some commonality in character traits to the leadership of that company?
That's a great question. And I think what it takes to make sure that you get to that level is a solid team that everybody is they have the right people in the right seats. And the communication and culture of that team is sound. That's huge to have things happen. I've run it. I know a lot of different founders, and I've experienced in my own work as a consultant of founders who have a vision, but have hard times with follow through. So they need to have a partner or a team that's going to be able to follow through and have a healthy relationship with each other. So those are really, really important.
So at the very beginning, what I found with the entrepreneurs I've worked with over the years, and it doesn't matter what the industry is, their lenses are usually twofold. The first lens is some kind of subject matter expertise. Maybe they're, super heavy on the technology or the product, or, what actually is delivered. The other perspective is that they are very high concentration in the sales and marketing efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's either a sales and marketing lens, drive, or here's the super product, and we know everything about how the molecular structure of the product works, why it's a functional food brand in your case, and how it compares to everything else. And one of the things that is often missing from that founding team is the fulfillment side of the business. Now, how are you going to deliver the product? Now, if you're only delivering 10 grand worth of the product in that first year, and that's going to be a great year because you actually shipped product, that's a completely different reality than if you're trying to move $5 million worth of cases in the year after and $10 million the year after that. And that's rapid growth, I know. But my point is, who's actually that individual? that can actually make sure that all the gears are meshing internally and the conveyor belts are moving product out the door and people are getting what they intended on buying. Do you find that with your rapid growth clients that what I just said is true, or do you find that they have actually, come with all three of those perspectives?
Oh no, I think that you've got your specialty, right? It's very hard to find a Swiss Army knife, but it's important also for founders to be open and learn those things. And even if they don't like it, if they don't like numbers, if they don't like operations, if they don't like marketing or sales, you gotta learn. In order to run the ship, you need to know all the different areas. So if someplace goes down, that you can step in and have an awareness and understanding, even if it's from a broad degree, to just be able to recognize, oh, okay, this is right or wrong, and be able to fix it as soon as you can.
Yeah, I was with a friend of mine the other day, a young lady, and she's on a management track at the restaurant that she works in. So it's a chain restaurant. And one of the things she loved, great with people, absolutely great with people, front end stuff, it is very much an engaging type of thing. And then she said, and I've known her for a couple of years, and she said to me something very interesting. And again, she's a part of this management track. I hate the numbers, though. Hate numbers. I hate I hate anything to do with, profit numbers, inventory numbers, any kind of turnover numbers. And immediately the thought went through my head, this isn't going to work. Because the whole business is about numbers. Yeah, you have to be great with people, things like that. But the way you deliver and fulfill product and make a profit has got to be about the numbers, right? It's got to be about the numbers. How many people in your experience, and it doesn't even matter whether there's Forum for Naturals or not, with the entrepreneurs that you've met, have an understanding that the numbers are where the rubber meets the road?
When you get started, you follow your passion. And that takes you somewhere. I want to make sure that people don't shy away from that. Like, oh, I have to pull away from my where I'm naturally gifted. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying expand your capacity to then and take the passion that you have in a certain area and try to use that energy to embrace another one, map it over it in a sense. And numbers are vital. Because you need to understand whether or not your business is healthy. What if you're trying to woo an investor or have a partner who's going to bring in funds? What does that look like? Even legal jargon that it splits my brain cells, it blows up my head sometimes too. But having an understanding of nuance and detail is really, really important. And if you can't, let's say you absolutely can't do that, you've got to find somebody who's going to be your kind of puzzle piece together to match you in those areas. So those are the two things I would suggest.
With the members that you're working with right now, how many of the original founding team is still there, or have they moved into professional management?
It really mixes. It's a mix. You've got some people who are been a part of the ride from the beginning all the way to now to an acquisition where they're still part of the team and they're part of a Fortune 500 company now. So yeah, it really varies.
With your 58 members, are you seeing now we've been in COVID now for 2 years. We're going to other trying times right now. We got everything from supply chain issues to Ukraine. We got all, what is it? West Texas Intermediate is now what, $93 a barrel or something like that, something crazy, right? It's costing me a little bit more money to fill my car these days. Are you seeing any commonality of trends with your brands? Trends that they're wrestling with or taking advantage of for the next 1, 2, 3 years?
Well, the biggest trend that I would say with my group is the fact that they're in the health and wellness space. And so with COVID, everyone is trying to boost their immunity. And so they're trying to adapt a healthier lifestyle. So there, a lot of products are doing quite well in sales because a lot of them are low sugar, low fat, low sodium, helps. There's a couple that are supplement companies. There's, alternative drinks that are, that are natural sugars or alternative to sugars, foods that have, high proteins and fibers and vitamins and antioxidants and such. So that's a big one, is being in a place where health and wellness is on the top of everyone's mind right now. So that's one. Secondly is that there's just been such a huge shift to be online. So really getting savvy and smart about what does that look like? What is, we were just having this big conversation on ROAS, like what's ROAS, especially now with all the changes and like algorithms and such. And so, how are you communicating to your consumer? How are you expanding that? So I think a lot of people are really learning a lot about where they can fit in the ongoing dialogue of today, which is constantly changing, and having relevance as well as being mission based. So having a message on sustainability and purpose and where they stand in terms of diversity and inclusion in their workplace, or what are they doing for the environment. All of these things are things that the brands are really taking advantage of and doing quite well.
So that's interesting to me. Diversity is not core to these natural brands. It's not core to it. But diversity is definitely a cultural element now, amongst others. Sustainability, it could be a lot of authenticity, it could be a lot of different things, right? How important are you finding that these brands adopt these wider character traits, of that brand? So it's not just about the functional aspects of the product, what it delivers, but it's a broader thing where they fit into society as a whole. Is that becoming more and more of an integral part of how people market these days?
Absolutely. I think that, consumers are wanting this. They're wanting to have a brand. They want to purchase brands that are in line with their values. And there's a consumer out there that's identified in a psychographic term as LOHAS, that's willing to spend 13 to 19% more for a product that's in line with their values. So, and the fact that you're seeing more and more of that and that change. I mean, I was just reading today that Morningstar changed changed ratings on greenwashing products to downgrade their star ratings on what they're doing. So, and that was $1 trillion, $1 trillion in assets
from an ESG perspective.
ESG perspective.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that they're not doing that just because they're doing it. They're doing it because their investors are wanting this. So, stakeholder engagement is really popular right now. The fact that you cannot deny that the climate is changing, and so brands are looking to say, hey, look, I'm doing my part. I know an individual out there, a customer is wanting to do their part. We're doing our part. So if you want to join us and have a relationship, then let's do that. And here's what we're doing. And so they list these various different things on their websites, and they choose different aspects, whether it's supporting farming, is it supporting regenerative agriculture, is it non-GMO, is it all of these different things in terms of carbon offsetting, is it B Corp, all of these different areas that are really growing in popularity, and then also communicating that in an effective and transparent way.
I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs over the last 20, 30 years, right? Hundreds of entrepreneurs, and probably more in my classes. And I can tell you that I have a very difficult time picking who the winners are, like a super difficult time picking the winner. I can usually pick the people that won't win, right? But a lot of it is just trial by fire. And, that fire brings out character traits that are very much things that you will bring out that is required to succeed, necessary to succeed, and that's what moves them forward. When you look at an entrepreneur, is there anything that you would see, regardless of my inability to pick winners, is there anything that you would see that would say, these guys are going to be a $10 million plus company? And if so, what are those traits?
From a individual perspective, yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one. But obviously, you have to have, first you have to have a vision, and number one. Number two, you need to be able to communicate that vision in a really effective way. And storytelling is the most impactful for many people. Some people might be introverts, but regardless, you still need to communicate your vision to others. And that's having empathy and understanding in terms of who your audience is. The story that you tell your mom is different than what you tell your investor, which is different than what maybe you tell a new hire. So understanding your audience is really, really key. The real big one is having tenacity and grit, and being able to take the punches that are gonna come, and really stay the course no matter how stormy it gets, while also looking at the positives every day, and getting into a habit of looking even at the little wins, even if they're subtle. That's how you continue on and get to the top, is it's just step by step, and it's something that a lot of people can really get caught up in terms of just the challenges that bring you down, but also what is it that's going to uplift you, and then how does that impact others around you, so that your team is healthy as well, and on the same path as you, and want you to succeed as equally as much as you want them to succeed. So those are a few things. Got it. Ted, where are we going to find Forum for Naturals? Our website is just forumfornaturals.com, and you can feel free to email me there if anyone has any questions. I'll be at the Natural Products Expo coming up here in a couple weeks. I'm also be likely at the Fancy Food Show in June. So if you see me at any of those places, tap my shoulder and say hi. No way you go. Okay, Ted and Ing with Forum for Naturals. Thank you for being on the show. Appreciate it. It was great. Thank you so much.